Tesla is killing it right now. They had a huge jumpstart on the EV market. They were not necessarily the first ones to mass produce electric cars, but they were the first ones who made a genuine attempt at making EVs appealing to the general public, and that's why today they're winning. And considering electrification is widely regarded as a solution for the near future, you can see how long established manufacturers aren't happy about Tesla's dominant position. So, most of them have begun releasing cars to effectively compete with Tesla. Better late than never, I suppose. There is Mercedes with its EQ sub-brand, and so far they've only got the EQC on the road. There's Porsche with the Taycan and the versatile platform it sits on, Volkswagen with the ID platform, and there's also Ford with its Ford Mustang Mach E. Yes, Ford, the best way to challenge Tesla is by ripping off the name of your beloved pony car and slapping it on a crossover SUV. Now, I want to start by saying I personally don't have anything against electric cars, and I also believe most enthusiasts aren't necessarily opposed to the idea of an electric Mustang. But upon hearing the phrase electric Mustang, I bet this is what most enthusiasts imagine. Except they don't have to imagine it anymore, because this is a real prototype Ford unveiled at the 2019 SEMA trade show. It's called the Mustang Lithium, and it was made in conjunction with a company called Webastos, a company specialized in making convertible roofs, and was then looking into branching out to the EV market by positioning themselves as suppliers of charging and battery systems. And this Mustang Lithium is their way of showing what they could do, and let me tell you, it is fairly impressive. It has 900 horsepower and over 1,000 pound-feet of torque, and all of that is still going to the rear wheels. And those are not even the most impressive details, because this electric Mustang has got a manual gearbox, making it only the second ever EV that lets the driver go through the gears. Now here's what they've done. They took the engine out of a Mustang GT and dropped 1/3 of the overall battery package in its place. The rest of it went to the back for better weight distribution. And behind the front-mounted batteries, there's an electric engine, and mounted to it is a beefed-up version of the same transmission found in a regular 550 Mustang, coupled with a clutch and everything. Now here's the thing about electric engines, they don't stall, they can idle at 0 RPM and are still able to deliver the infamous instant torque. So a manual transmission isn't needed. Even they admitted and said you could leave it in third gear and never change gears while driving it. So they put a manual in there because they could, and because they knew enthusiasts will appreciate the added driving engagement that usually lacks from electric cars. That is what Mustangs are all about. This has nothing to do with a Mustang. And by the way, if you're enjoying the video so far, be sure to subscribe. Now, Ford has sadly confirmed that they will not be making the Mustang Lithium, choosing the Mustang Mach E instead to be the pony's first real step into the EV era. And in my opinion, that was a big mistake, because not only did Ford take a dump on a 57-year-old heritage by slapping the Mustang name on an SUV, but it also showed how little faith they had in the Mach E to stand out for itself. And what do I mean by that? We're at a point where so many electric cars are coming out that it's becoming increasingly difficult to keep track of them all, and most importantly, to care about them. If you haven't amassed the popularity Tesla has in the EV space, it's difficult to keep your EV model in people's minds and maintain its relevance. Just think about it. Audi came out with the e-tron a few years back and no one really cares about it now. Same with the Mercedes EQC or Jaguar I-Pace, or even more affordable EVs such as the Kia Niro or the Hyundai Kona. So I believe that because Ford was so afraid the Mach E would follow the same fate, they decided they had to do something that would get everyone talking about it. And unfortunately, that meant giving it the name of their beloved sports car. But what Ford seemingly didn't realize is that the reason the I-Pace and the e-tron are so forgettable is that they don't stand out in any way. Their styling isn't particularly noteworthy, their tech not exactly groundbreaking, and they're not in any way engaging vehicles. Teslas, for instance, do stand out. They offer an experience people truly never had, and on top of that, they have this cool factor attached to them. And it took them years to get to that point. Ford will simply not get there by slapping the name of a completely different car onto an SUV. If people go out and buy the Mustang Mach E, if the car does well, it won't be because it's called the Mustang, it will be because it's a good car. If people like the Mach E, it won't be because it has the Mustang logo back and front, it will be because it's a fairly good looking car. If people enjoy driving the Mustang Mach E, it won't be because the GT 350 is great to drive, it will be because that specific Mach E was built with driving pleasure in mind. It's such a shame Ford seemingly didn't trust the Mach E's capabilities to be good enough to get the word out, and they ended up with such long and unnecessary names for some of the models. The Mustang Mach E GT Performance. That's a mouthful. To put into perspective how wrong Ford got this, let's look at a different manufacturer that was in a similar position 2 decades ago. Porsche. Now, in 2002, when Porsche introduced the Cayenne to the world, their first ever SUV, their first ever four-door, they didn't call it the 911 4x4 or the 911 Cross Country because they knew the Cayenne had nothing to do with a 911. And they knew the Cayenne's capabilities were strong enough to sell the car on their own. They didn't need to piggyback off of the 911 legacy. And look at how it went. Although the Cayenne was received with some criticism, the Cayenne thrived and the 911's legacy was untouched. Now, Ford are not stupid. They knew exactly what they were doing and they knew exactly what the consequences would be. They knew enthusiasts and many fans of the Mustang would be pissed off and they still went with it. Because somewhere within their marketing department, they decided the apparent benefits of calling an SUV a Mustang outweighed the potential backlash it would cause. So it may have been a calculated risk, but let me tell you Ford, you and Mitsubishi are bad at math. Let me know if you don't agree with something I've said, and remember to like the video if you enjoyed it and dislike it if you didn't. Subscribe if you'd like to see more content of the sort, and until then, this has been Mach 6 and thanks for watching.